Welcome to this week's piece. So, you guys know I backed out on my SeaScape the last time I wanted to do one, and I was scouring the interwebs for another piece to do it on, and then I realized I've got this sleigh bed in my shop, and I was just going to turn this into a bench, but I think it will be a lovely bed, because it is one. So this had kind of that trim around it that looks a bit like a frame. So I just thought this would be a good try it out time. Something to use that I wasn't terribly fond of. So yeah, started with giving it a good cleaning, and then I gave it a scuff sand. I didn't want to go too deep in the sand because it's mahogany and I didn't want it to bleed through. Not that it would matter too much because we're going a dark paint route, so not a huge deal. But this thing had tons and tons of scratches and gouges in it, so I had to fill all those. You'll notice I didn't fill any in the little framed area. That's because I'm gonna actually help that wood out a little bit later. But everything else is getting a paint job, so it didn't matter too much to just give it a fill. The inner section where I'm going to do the painting, I went over it in blackboard, and that's because I need a black base, and then everything else will get 2 coats of iron gate. Iron gate is just the dark gray. So I showed doing 1 coat of the blackboard here, which is all that I did, but the iron gate did get 2 coats. I only show 1 because you guys know it's boring to just paint a solid color. Now before I start painting, I like to start with a base of poly over the top because I know that I'm going to make mistakes somewhere, and I want to just make sure if something bad happens, I can kind of go back without going all the way back. So I let that sit overnight, and then I'm using this line of tape here just to be a horizon line. And then I'll start with my clear glaze mixed with the black just to give a wet base to work on. And then you'll notice I'm only doing the top bits because this is all water-based stuff. It dries fairly quickly, so I don't want to do the entire top. I just want to do what I'm capable of working in. So I've got just a few colors that are kind of dark, stormy, cloudy sky colors. I swirl them in, and then I just take a blending brush and kind of smooth them out and make them look a little foggy-ish. And then I can add the same glaze and black paint to the bottom and start doing the waves. Now, clouds are so easy. You literally swirl them on and then kind of brush them out almost. I've never done ocean waves before, and these were so hard for me. So you'll see this kind of starting out in this way, and then as I go, they will completely change because I didn't like it. I didn't think it looked good, and I just kind of kept playing with things until I felt like they were something that I could look at and not be sad about. So this portion is where I'm trying to do like a rollover wave. It's fine. I mean, it took a while, and that's kind of the bonus of this, is if you get kind of a basic shape in outline, you can almost keep adding paint and building to it instead of starting all the way over. Now, you totally could start all the way over and that would be fine, but I found in doing this that if I just kind of kept going with it, I would get someplace that I liked by the end of it. Again, I'm not teaching any of this because I don't know what I'm doing. Usually they're like my other 3 paintings that I did. I could kind of follow along. Like the first painting, I followed along a Bob Ross tutorial, and it was awesome, and I loved it, and it was super fun, and it turned out really well. And then the second one, like I could just kind of veer more and more the other 2 that I did. But this one, I didn't have anything to follow really. He has like 2 that I found helpful, but it didn't really work that well with this kind of paint. So, I don't know. It was hard. It was hard. And then I had this big blank spot. So I was like, oh, I'll do a ship. I don't know how to do ships. So I found one that was kind of the angle of a ship that I wanted, and I looked at that picture and tried to paint it. I just kind of did a basic outline of it in a dark color. That's the ship right there. And it looks nothing like that one because that person's an actual artist. But I just kind of did the basic outline of it and kept adding and hoping for the best. Now, this ship took me probably longer than anything else. So the waves and everything, even though I went back and did the waves, they weren't as hard as on the footboard. So that was nice to know that just after practicing on the headboard, the footboard was quite a bit easier and went a bit faster. So I'm just going to super speed through the rest of the ship because, like I said, I was just kind of adding things as I went and hoping for the best, which is mostly just how I do my paintings anyways. Now this is the part where the water started feeling better to me because I was changing up the way I was doing the waves and it really helped. So I would add a bit more of the glaze and do the colors and just kind of worked in layers instead of just trying to get them all done. So this part was actually fun and I was starting to kind of get a feel for it, if you know what I mean. So everything changed in the waves and you can see it's starting to kind of come together just a little better than what it initially looked like. Now the one thing I didn't like was how I had those waves meeting there, like pushing up against each other. I knew I wanted that to be there, but it looked strange because obviously I needed something on the left side to make the water do that. So I wasn't sure what I was gonna do, but I liked this, but I hated the way that it looked just like it shouldn't be there. So while I'm doing this, I'm kind of deciding, like here, how I wanted to make it look, how I could make this make sense. This wasn't it. At this point, I was finishing up touch-ups and everything and adding a few stars and the breaks in the clouds and just getting little extra bits. I dried it and then polyed it because I liked where it was at. Again, I knew I wasn't done, but just in case I hated what I did next, it was protected. So I added kind of just like a barrier here, maybe some rocks or something. I didn't know where I was going, but I just started playing with it. And I really like how it ended up. and it's just really scary to put something on there. So again, that's why I put the poly down, just in case I hated it, I could totally wipe it off and start over. And you know I can't finish a piece without doing a bit of gilding. So I've mixed up a gold that I will like. I've got I've got some gold, some copper, and some silver in here. And then just a tiny bit of poly. Now if you do a lot of poly, you can do a wash with this, or, I mean, you've seen me use this stuff in numerous ways. But this, I want a really bold gilded look, so a very small amount of poly, and I'm just using a detail brush, and I'm gonna go around all of the edges of the frame and just any of the accent pieces. I'm highlighting all of those. Then I did go through and sealed the entire piece with poly, with the exception of the wooden frame area. On the framed area, I'm taking some 320 sandpaper. I wanted this to be super fine because I'm not trying to get it all the way sanded back to anything. I'm just trying to smooth it out and give me a good surface to work with, and then clear off the sanding dust. And then I can go in with my beeswax and give it a good polish. And this stuff just works so amazingly well. I put it on with a bit of very fine steel wool, and you can see it just brings the wood back to life. And it also protects it and gives it just the most lovely sheen. And then of course I will take this same stuff on the same pad and I will go over all of the paint as well. And this will kind of help tone everything and give it all the same sheen, and it also minimizes some of your brush strokes too, if that's an issue that you're having. Oh, and also adds extra protection, because I find that anytime you do wax over poly, it just adds an extra barrier for spills and things like that to have to get through. So I highly recommend waxing over poly. I'll let this sit, and then I can go back and just buff it out with a cloth, and then we're finished. Oh hi, Taryn here with Elegant Upgrades, and we've got our finished piece. I'll see you guys next week and get you some pictures.